thing that really sticks out in my head was the barking pig.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't let me do that.
I know, I know. My favorite thing in the movie is when she's in that room with the sort of rotted cooked pig on the table. She walks in, everything's really tense and silent, and this cooked pig just sort of barks at her, and it's like one of the coolest ideas in the movie. I didn't know where it came from. He wanted the pig to bark.
It was
It came off
illogical,
great.
but it was a rhythm thing.
The audience just came out of its chair when that happened in the screening.
Yeah, it was a good rhythm gag. It got the audience. But the reason they were fighting me on it was budget, because these are low budget films, and there was some $2,000 or something to build the pig puppet that had to do that, and they kept telling me, Chuck, that scene's cut. And I learned early, how to still get it. I told the prop man, go get a real pig, that's meant to be eaten by people, and cook it, and bring it to the set and drill a hole in the table. And I'm sure that somebody could put their hand up there and make that pig bark. I mean, there is an organic solution to these things.
Did you really do that?
Yeah, and they wouldn't let me do it. They wrapped the set. I did finally just an angle that would hold the pig. But I remember that was a real battle because they didn't want to take any more time or any more money at that time in the show. But, listen, when there's a will, there's a way. And it was actually, I'm sure, much better than if we'd had someone make some rubber puppet that probably wouldn't look very convincing anyhow.
When we did the Freddy snake for Nightmare 3, again, it looks like a snake. It looks a little phallic. It looks like something that you'd seen before. And there's a lot of kind of sexual things within Nightmare on Elm Street in design as well. There's very phallic kind of symbols and things. You have to sort of search for them. But things that I'm going to screw this up. I'm sorry. I just started thinking about the Freddy snake. It was actually...
let's do that.
Okay.
Let's spend
Because it was designed to look like a penis, to be all honest. Cut. That's it. And
Sometimes a giant snake is just a giant snake, yeah.
Exactly.
Which is why it wound up eating the little girl, right?
True.
Yeah. Sure.
Speaking of the giant snake, Freddy, did you want to make a point about the vaginal sexual references? Listen, this is
Because there's no point to make, so you really needn't bother.
there is a lot of sexual horror, sure, and a lot of sexual horror imagery in this picture, but that's part of the puberty chemistry nightmare that's true to that age group in that world, and true to all of us, continuing to some extent.
And if she'd only had a giant condom in that scene, she could have bagged the son of a bitch right there. End of movie.
But there are a lot of these things with Freddy that are very sexual, that work their way into designs. And one in this case, the Freddy snake was meant to look like a Freddy snake / Freddy penis thing that was attacking this woman. So anyway, we designed it, and at one angle, it actually does look like a phallic thing. We got it on the set, and I did the maquette. The maquette's a small little sculpture design that the director Chuck Russell approved. Said it was fine, but it was in green clay. Once I turned it into a flesh, matching Freddy, it became a pink thing, and this pink thing, when it showed up on set, looked like what this is, more than I think Chuck wanted. So what we ended up doing, we sort of panicked about it, and he just went, "It's just too much. It's over the top. It's too much." I know it's got Freddy's face on it, but it just looks. And he was going to put the camera up top over the snake at one point, and that was the angle that looked most like what it was sort of designed to look like. Being pink, he decided, what can we do? I said, well, I can't paint it. There's no way. I don't have the time. It shoots in an hour. So what we did was we mixed up this green slime, and we coated it in green slime. And it ends up then taking it down a little bit. It ends up sort of looking more like a worm thing, creature thing. But it wasn't my original idea, really.
The giant snake Freddy scene was a test for me personally, because it came fairly early in our stage shoot, of having to think on your feet, which all beginning directors have to do with limited budgets, especially when you don't want to do effects. Because when that thing came to the set, it was each Freddy effect gets its own pet name, and that was called the Nerf Freddy, because I was really concerned about safety, having come from kind of a stunt second unit background, and it had to gobble up Patricia Arquette. I didn't want any hardware to hurt her. I knew I was dealing with pretty inexperienced shop people with some of the effects people. And the thing looked great and worked beautifully and it was safe, but it did collapse when it tried to eat her. The whole face would collapse in. So there was actually no way to gobble her. It became like this ancient-looking collapsed gumming her to death kind of thing that wouldn't. But because I was told at that moment if it didn't work that day, it wasn't in the movie, we thought fast, and I thought, we'll put it all the way in the end stage and pull it off her, because it could, in fact, do that. And then we print it in reverse, and because that often that look can give itself away, I would dolly out, so that the camera move in and the reverse photography would sort of counter each other, and the audience wouldn't quite know what they were seeing. And in fact, it ended up being probably a little more nightmarish than it might have been if the damn thing worked.
It's a good shot. Yeah. It really worked.
I hope when I look back at it again, I still like it.
Yeah, I think you will. Gives me nightmares.